Chapter 420. Tang Zheng and Tianxia could not understand why the Skywalker would imprison the Witch clan, and could not help but fall into silence. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian were also not clear about the matter of the Skywalker, so they were confused. Seeing that the two of them were silent, the 100 Transformation Star Lord continued, "Back then the only Skywalker was Qiyu, so the Witch clan must have been imprisoned by Qiyu." "What Qiyu? He's a Skywalker?" Tang Zheng's expression changed as he exclaimed loudly. This was the second Skywalker he had heard of. Tianxia could not help but look at Tang Zheng. Qiyu was an existence that was close to a god in the ancient era, but he was actually a Skywalker. Could it be that Tang Zheng, a Skywalker, could also reach that level in the future? Tianxia could not help but be fascinated. However, Tang Zheng's emotions were even more complicated. The identity of a Skywalker was closely related to him, and he had always wanted to understand what was so special about this identity. But now, he actually heard that the supreme expert from the ancient times was also a Skywalker. How could he not have mixed feelings? Tang Zheng slightly restrained his emotions and said, "Impossible, didn't Qiyu die in the Battle of Zhuolu? How can he imprison the Witch clan?" The Witch clan was obviously imprisoned after the Battle of Zhuolu. At that time, Qiyu should have already died. How could it be that easy to kill Qiyu? Even if he only has one breath left, he can still do many things such as imprison the Witch clan? As for why he did this, I am not sure. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned, obviously unable to understand Qiyu's actions. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan looked at each other. Both of them knew that the Witch clan was a branch of the Nine Li race, and back then they had followed Qiyu to the north and south, and could be considered as Qiyu's loyal troops. Why would Qiyu imprison the Witch clan before? Although I don't know why Qiyu did this, there must be a deep meaning behind his actions. You will definitely understand in the future. However, Qiyu probably never thought that his own Witch clan would treat you as some Lord Emissary. What a joke. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said disdainfully. With that said, the 100 Transformation Star Lord suddenly looked into the distance, his eyebrows raised as he said with a smile that was not a smile, "Interesting, this Buzhou mountain that has been silent for so many years, but all of a sudden, there are so many people who have come all of a sudden, it's getting more and more and more." Hearing this, everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look into the distance. They didn't see anyone at all, but everyone knew that 100 Change Star Lord wouldn't speak without thinking. Someone must have also gone up Mount Buzhou and broken through the layer of restriction outside. Who could these people be? Tang Zheng and the others looked at each other. In the end, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian shouted in unison, "It's the demon god and the others." Tianxia was slightly surprised. He had wanted to find the demon god and see if there was a way to let the cultivators return. He did not expect that these people would also come to Buzhou Mountain. Hearing this name, the 100 Transformation Star Lord said disdainfully, "What kind of person dares to call himself God? Ridiculous." The demon god is a member of the Devil clan, a descendant of the Jiuli clan. Tang Zheng introduced. The 100 Transformation Star Lord curled his lips and said, "The Jiuli clan is really getting worse and worse. How dare they call themselves God?" Sure enough, with the death of Qiyu, the Jiuli clan fell apart. Moreover, they are sneakily hiding in the distance, not daring to show themselves. Even after coming to Buzhou Mountain, they still want to shrink their heads. What wishful thinking. Come out. The 100 Transformation Star Lord roared and grabbed at the void with his small hand. The chi between heaven and earth instantly became chaotic. The demon god and Lewis had sacrificed Sawada Ichiro's life to break the restriction and reach this place. Then they heard the earth-shattering sounds of battle, so they were attracted here. Originally, they were prepared to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, but they were discovered as soon as they got close. Then they found that the scene in front of them changed rapidly. Then, the two of them appeared in a dilapidated courtyard. What's going on? The demon god cried out in panic. You are that demon god, right? You think that I can't do anything to you just because you are sneakily hiding in the distance? In this world, you can't escape from my heaven and earth in the palm. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said confidently. Heaven and earth in the palm? What kind of magic is this? The demon god's face was pale. His eyes finally focused on the 100 Transformation Star Lord. He could not help but be a little absent-minded. The other party was obviously a child, but why did he give people such a strange feeling? He could not help but feel a trace of fear. You are not qualified to know. It seems that you two are in the same group. We are not in the same group. We are enemies. Tang Zheng corrected. Oh, interesting. The descendants of the Sorcerer tribe and the Nine Li tribe have become enemies. Haha, if Qiyu knew about this, he would probably crawl out of his grave in anger. The 100 Transformation Star Lord laughed loudly. Presumptuous. Our demon ancestor, Qiyu, is not someone you can talk about. The demon god heard this and shouted angrily with a strong sense of righteousness. Obviously, the demon god had just come close to this place, so he did not know about the conversation just now. He also did not know how powerful the 100 Transformation Star Lord was. Why can't I talk about Qiyu? Even if Qiyu stood in front of me back then, I would still say the same thing. How can an insignificant descendant of the Nine Li tribe like you have the right to talk about him? You reckless fool. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said angrily. I think you are the one who is reckless. The demon god was used to being high and mighty. He immediately exploded when he was looked down upon. The expressions of Tang Zheng and the rest changed slightly. They felt sorry for the demon god. People like him who did not understand the situation would die a horrible death. As expected, the 100 Transformation Star Monarch flew into a rage upon hearing those words. Then I'll get rid of you first. With a wave of his hand, the ground under the demon god's feet suddenly collapsed and turned into a small pool. A huge whirlpool appeared and the demon god was instantly sucked into the whirlpool. It seemed like he was going to be sucked into the ground soon. Lewis was shocked and quickly dodged to the side. He escaped and looked at the scene in panic. The demon god resisted with all his might. He slashed down with the demon dragon saber in his hand. He wanted to use the rebound force to break free from the whirlpool, but he found that it was useless. He could not help but be shocked and terrified. He shouted, "Let me go quickly." Humph, it is useless to beg. The 100 Transformation Star Lord was unmoved. Lewis looked at the 100 Faces Star Lord in horror. How could this childlike person possess such terrifying strength with just a wave of his hand? Tang Zheng and the rest were not surprised. They just did not expect the previously arrogant demon god to die like this. However, this way, the vicious blood mountain and river array could not be activated. There would not be tens of thousands of people sacrificing their lives. Therefore, Tang Zheng was happy to see this happen. Stop. Suddenly, Xianxia roared. The sword light flashed and pierced the whirlpool. With a sudden twist, the whirlpool shook violently. Tang Zheng was shocked. He quickly asked, Xianxia, what are you doing? The demon god cannot die. Xianxia said loudly. At this moment, the whirlpool's attack was disrupted. The demon god took advantage of the chaos to soar into the sky and escape from the whirlpool. The 100 Transformation Star Lord saw this and frowned. He said unhappily, "You are ruining my plans again. Then, none of you can think of leaving here today." Heaven Monk remained unmoved and said, "The demon god came back from the heavens beyond. He is the clearest about the situation in the heavens beyond. If we kill him, we won't be able to find out about the situation in the heavens beyond." The 100 Transformation Star Lord looked at the demon god in surprise. He said, "You came back from the sky beyond?" "Yes." The demon god's voice was trembling. He was frightened by the 100 Transformation Star Lord's divine ability. He did not dare to be arrogant before he figured out the other party's background. "Very good. Then tell us what it is like in the sky beyond?" The 100 Transformation Star Lord asked impatiently. The demon god looked at them suspiciously. He did not understand why they were so interested in the sky beyond. When he hesitated, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's face changed again. He said eerily, "You don't want to talk, right? Then I have many ways to make you talk." The demonic god was shocked and quickly said, I'll tell you right away. The heavens beyond heaven is a very mysterious place. Although the spiritual energy is abundant, it is very dangerous. There are huge hidden dangers. If you are not careful, you will lose your life. The 100 Transformation Star Lord laughed. Haha, I already said that the sky beyond is not a good place. Now I am finally right. It is a dangerous place. I did so much in the past, but those people did not appreciate it. Ridiculous. The demon god looked at the 100 Transformation Star Lord blankly. He did not understand what he meant. Senior, how did you know about the sky beyond? The demon god asked carefully. Of course I know. The 100 Transformation Star Lord smiled mysteriously. Seeing that the sky beyond was confirmed, Xianxia's heart skipped a beat. He interrupted and asked, what happened to the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond? Most of them died. Died. Xianxia's face changed suddenly. He looked like he was in pain. The 100 Transformation Star Lord snorted and said, what's so strange about them dying? It would be strange if they did not die in such a dangerous place. Xianxia turned a deaf ear and continued to ask, what happened to Kingsaman? Kingsaman? Almost all of them are dead. Back then, the distinct void sect was still a big sect. However, their luck wasn't very good. After entering the sky beyond heaven, they encountered several great calamities. They suffered countless casualties and were on the verge of collapse. They could completely disappear at any time. The demon god said expressionlessly, "You're talking nonsense." Xianxia suddenly shouted crazily. His face was ferocious. Xianxia will not disappear. Xianxia will rise again. Xianxia was Xianxia's sect. He had deep feelings for it. Tang Jing looked at Xianxia in surprise. He had never seen him lose control of his emotions like this. It seemed that his feelings for his sect were not ordinary. "Could it be that you are from the distinct void sect?" The demon god was also surprised by the person who had just saved his life. He could feel that this person's cultivation was not ordinary. Moreover, he had seen Tang Jing use the sword technique of flying deities from heaven. Naturally, he could think of this. "Of course I am. I am Xianxia." "You are Xianxia?" The demon god's eyes widened. He could not help but exclaim, "Q." Chapter 421. The demon god stared at Xianxia with his mouth agape. "Didn't you die 1,000 years ago?" Xianxia curled his lips and said, "I won't die so easily." "That's right. You are the genius of Xianxia after all. Although you were expelled from the sect, your strength is not to be underestimated." The demon god sighed. Tang Jing looked at Xianxia in surprise and said, "You are a genius? What? Can I be?" Xianxia raised his neck proudly. He had never told Tang Jing about this. Now that he was exposed, he could not help but feel sad when he thought of his glorious days 1,000 years ago. All his glory had gone with the wind. Of course. It seems that I can't always tease you in the future." Tang Jing laughed. The demon god looked at Tang Jing and Xianxia's intimate conversation and thought, "Legend has it that Tang Jing has a mysterious master who can also use the sword art of flying fairies from outer space. Could this master be Xianxia?" The demon god was shocked. Although he did not know what cultivation level Xianxia had in the past, there was no doubt that he was stronger than him. Therefore, he could not help but feel uneasy when he became the enemy of Xianxia's disciple. Xianxia did not pay attention to the demon god's anxiety. He looked a little absent-minded and muttered to himself, "Why did Xianxia become so weak? There are so many talents in the sect. Could it be that they still could not resist the inexplicable danger in the outer space? Do you really think that the danger in the outer space is so simple? We have spent so many years and still have not fully explored the outer space. The outer space is vaster than this world. It seems to be boundless. Moreover, there are indigenous races in the outer space. These indigenous races are much stronger than us. If we did not resist them for so many years, we would have been uprooted." The demon god said bitterly, "Indigenous races?" Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. The 100 Faces Star Sovereign also opened his eyes wide and looked at him curiously. "That's right, the outer sky is not without inhabitants. These natives are all residents of the outer sky. They're very powerful, and there's no lack of grand ascension stage beings among them. Among us who were banished, the most powerful ones were only at the soul formation stage. During one conflict after another, we suffered greatly. Many sects were even wiped out and disappeared from the face of the world." The demon god's expression changed slightly. He couldn't help but feel a sense of lingering fear as he spoke of the situation in the outer sky. When the 100 Change Star Sovereign heard this, he chuckled and said, "You asked for it." Xianxia gritted his teeth and said, "I have to save the people of my sect from the realm beyond heaven as soon as possible." "It's not that easy to rescue someone from heavens beyond," demon god said. "Humph." Xianxia snorted disapprovingly and said, "You can't wait to bring back the demon race's people. Isn't it because you want the demon race to escape this calamity? You have a way, but I don't necessarily have no other way." "Aha, Xianxia was a genius back in the day. You might have a way, but you don't even have contact with Xianxia in the outer sky. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to bring people from Xianxia out." Demon god gradually recovered his arrogance and said, Xianxia, I am never afraid of difficulties." Xianxia said as he glanced at Tang Jing. In fact, his idea was to find the foundation of the stairway to heaven and rebuild it. This was the safest way. "What other strange things are there in the outer sky? Tell me all of them and I'll send you to the gates of hell." The 100 Change Star Sovereign urged the demon god. The demon god was shocked and subconsciously took a step back, saying, "If you want to know the situation in the sky beyond, wait until you have the ability to go to the sky beyond. Don't think you can get any useful information from me." "Is that so?" In that case there's no need to keep you alive. Go to hell. The 100 Change Star Sovereign shouted. Demon God's face suddenly changed and he hurriedly shouted, Xianxia, if I want to know more about Kingsaman, work with me to defeat this person. Otherwise you'll never know. Demon God was not stupid. He immediately wanted to work with Xianxia to resist the 100 Change Star Sovereign. Xianxia hesitated, but Tang Jing stepped forward and said, Demon God, if you don't want to say it, no one will force you to say it. Since you don't want to say it, then take this information to the gates of hell. Then he turned to Xianxia and advised, Xianxia, we can't stay here for long. Otherwise, if the 100 Change Star Sovereign is free, it will be difficult for us to leave. Xianxia's heart trembled, but he reluctantly said, I really want to know about the sect. Tang Jing's face flushed red as if a flame was about to ignite. He took a deep breath and said, I can't control my pure yang energy anymore. It can explode at any time and it will be too late to leave then. Xianxia was shocked and complained, Why didn't you say so earlier? Since that's the case, then why are we still here talking nonsense with them? In Xianxia's heart, Tang Jing's safety was naturally more important than the news of his sect. Now Xianxia felt more and more that Tang Jing was a treasure, and could not allow him to make the slightest mistake. Then let's go. Tang Jing said in a low voice. Let's go, I'll cover the rear. With Tang Jing's order, Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian regained their senses as if they had just woken up from a dream, and immediately ran away. The two of them had heard so many shocking secrets, and their hearts were already in turmoil. However, at this moment, protecting their lives was more important. Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast were also very fast. Although the two little fellows looked dispirited, their speed was not slow, and with a sound they rushed out of the courtyard. Everyone's speed was very fast, and they left the courtyard amidst the rumbling footsteps of the four symbols venerables. Seeing that, the 100 Transformation Star Lord was furious, but there was a demon god in front of him, so he had no time to care about them. The attacks suddenly intensified. The demonic god was truly suffering. His strength was originally not as good as the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign. Moreover, the more he fought, the more uncertain he became. His heart was in turmoil. He wondered why this person was so strong. Seeing Tang Jing and the others walking further and further away, the demon god's heart was in a mess. He wanted to escape, but there was nowhere to run. Suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, he saw another figure rushing out of the courtyard, and could not help but fly into a rage, shouting loudly, Louis, you actually dare to escape. Louis had indeed escaped. Louis was a smart person and was good at judging the situation. Although he did not understand the origins of the 100 Transformation Star Lord, he knew very well that staying behind would be courting death, so he did not care about the demon god's anger and escaped. The demon god could only stare helplessly, but he still had some tricks up his sleeve. Furthermore, he had the magic dragon blade, so he used all of his skills and slashed down with his blade. A dragon's roar came out from the blade. The demon god was overjoyed. This was the true essence of the magic dragon blade. The magic dragon blade imprisoned the dragon soul of a young dragon, so after the dragon soul was activated, its power increased greatly. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned and said, The magic dragon blade, I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. Fine, I'll trap you first, and when I catch up with those people I'll come back and finish you off. The 100 Transformation Star Lord gently pointed his finger, and a stream of water fell from the sky, drenching the demon god. The demon god quickly dodged, but there was nowhere to hide as there was rain above his head. Freeze! The 100 Transformation Star Lord shouted, and the water on the demon god's body immediately turned into ice. In an instant, the demon god became an ice pillar, unable to move. The demon god's eyes widened, but he was still holding the magic dragon blade in his hand. However, he did not die but was sealed in ice, temporarily unable to move. The 100 Transformation Star Lord patted the demon god's cheek through the ice and said, Wait here for a while, I'll be back soon, hee hee. The demon god's eyes rolled around and he was extremely flustered, but there was nothing he could do. He could only watch as the 100 Transformation Star Lord quickly disappeared from his sight. Tang Jing and the others finally rushed in front of the restriction, but at this time they heard a roar from afar, Stop right there. Of course they would not stop. Tang Jing quickly cast a spell to break open the restriction, and then rushed out. At this time, Louis also rushed over, and seeing that the restriction was about to be restored, he quickly increased his speed and rushed out of danger. The few of them entered the world of white snow again, and the cold wind blew, causing them to involuntarily shiver. The inside and outside of the restriction were two completely different worlds, which made them feel a little dazed. Tang Zheng and the others immediately looked at Louis, who was alone. Louis's expression changed greatly, and he immediately transformed, flapped his wings and soared into the sky. However, he did not dare to fly up and instead flew to the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain was obviously an illusion array, and there was no way to reach the top of the mountain. However, Louis did not care so much. As long as he was far away from Tang Zheng and the others, he could temporarily save his life. Tang Zheng did not intend to pursue. The most important thing was to escape from the 100 Transformation Star Lord's pursuit. Louis was just a minor detail and was not worth mentioning. Therefore, the few of them rushed to the foot of the mountain. The three of them were very fast, but from afar they heard a rumbling sound coming from the restriction. The few of them guessed that the 100 Transformation Star Lord must be attacking the restriction. This restriction was specially designed to imprison him, so the effect on him was definitely stronger than the others. Tang Zheng could easily rush out, but it might not be so easy for the 100 Transformation Star Lord. The few of them heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, the 100 Transformation Star Lord was temporarily blocked. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord was previously very confident, which meant that the restriction might not be able to truly stop him, so it was best to escape as far as possible. Moments later, the few of them finally escaped to the foot of the mountain. Tang Zheng turned his head to take a look, but he could no longer see the restriction on the mountain, and Louis had also disappeared. Before he could rejoice, a rumbling explosion suddenly came from his body. His qi and blood surged and pure yang energy erupted. He tasted something sweet in his mouth and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were wide open and his gaze became dull. He could not breathe and his eyes rolled back as he fell straight to the ground. Bam! He fell heavily into the snow, and the others hurriedly stopped and cried out in alarm. Q. Chapter 422. The few of them hurriedly helped Tang Zheng up and shouted, "Tang Zheng, what happened to you?" But Tang Zheng's eyes were tightly shut, he was unconscious and did not answer them at all. Furthermore, his face was flushed red, like a red-hot iron plate. Yuan and Li Xiaotian looked at him blankly, not knowing why he suddenly became like this. Tian Chanzi's heart fell to the bottom and shouted, "His pure yang energy has exploded, his life is in danger." "Then what should we do?" "Senior, you must save Lord Envoy." Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, was in a daze. That high and mighty Tang Zheng would actually become like this was truly beyond her expectations. "Of course I will save him." Tian Chanzi's gaze turned cold, and suddenly landed on Li Xiaotian's body. In this desolate wilderness, there was no pure yin energy to neutralize Tang Zheng's pure yang energy, so his only hope was on Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was being stared at by Tian Chanzi, and from his gaze he sensed something strange and immediately asked, "Senior, why are you looking at me?" "Right now the only person who can save him is you," Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice. "Me?" Li Xiaotian pointed at his nose blankly. "I'm not a doctor, how can I save him?" Tian Chanzi explained, "If the pure yang energy in his body explodes, his body will explode and he will die. Only the pure yin energy in your body can reconcile this pure yang energy." "Pure yin energy reconcile?" Li Xiaotian was very confused by these words. "Yes, if you hand him over he can be saved," Tian Chanzi said bluntly. "What? Hand him over?" Li Xiaotian was so scared that she took a step back. She was really shocked by the news. Could doing that kind of thing save people? "Why would I lie to you at this time?" Tian Chanzi said resolutely. Li Xiaotian glanced at the unconscious Tang Zheng and couldn't help but bite her lip. She had never thought that she would have any sort of intimate relationship with Tang Zheng. As the holy maiden of the Li Palace, she had never even thought about having any sort of intimate relationship with any man. This was because the Li Palace hated men the most. None of the disciples were allowed to have any sort of emotional or physical entanglement with any man. Otherwise, it would be a violation of the sect's rules and they would be expelled from the Li Palace. Li Xiaotian shook his head almost without thinking. "No, I can't do that." Tian Chanzi snorted coldly and said, "That's not up to you." What are you going to do?" Li Xiaotian panicked and kept retreating. "I know you are the holy maiden of the Li Palace. If anything happens to Tang Zheng today, then I guarantee that the Li Palace will disappear from this world," Tian Chanzi said with a murderous aura. For the sake of Tang Zheng's life, Tian Chanzi would do anything. Moreover, he was not a benevolent dog in the first place. The cultivation world was a world where the strong preyed on the weak, and none of the experts in this world were good people. Hearing this, Li Xiaotian's mind trembled and he hurriedly shook his head. "No, I won't agree to it." "If that's not up to you," Tian Chanzi said coldly. Just as he was about to make a move, he heard a loud rumbling sound coming from the mountain, and saw the air fluctuating violently. Crap, the 100 Transformation Star Lord is about to break through the restrictions. Let's go. Xianxia shouted, hugging Tang Jing. He shot out like an arrow. The three of them quickly rushed to the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. I can't go any further. The thundercloud beast suddenly stopped and shouted. Why can't you leave? If we continue to delay, we will be caught up by the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Xianxia asked coldly. I'm not leaving. This prehistoric heavenly tomb has an invisible restriction on many creatures in the heavenly tomb. If they were to rush out of this area, they would immediately die. The thundercloud beast said in fear. Li Xiaotian suddenly remembered that the last time the thundercloud beast chased after him and Tang Jing to the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it was forced to stop, allowing them to luckily escape a calamity. This meant that the thundercloud beast was one of the creatures that were restricted. He was definitely afraid of this restriction, so he did not chase after them. He was not lying. Hearing Li Xiaotian's explanation, Xianxia's heart trembled. This prehistoric heavenly tomb was too mysterious, and there were many things that he could not explain. Then you stay here. We'll leave first. Xianxia would not delay for a single thundercloud beast, and immediately rushed out. Jiji. However, Xiaobai stretched out his claws and grabbed onto the thundercloud beast and shouted angrily. The thundercloud beast seemed to understand its words, but it cowered as it looked at the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Without a doubt, Xiaobai was asking the thundercloud beast to go out with him. However, the thundercloud beast had an instinctive fear of that invisible restriction, causing it to stop in its tracks. Xiaobai, don't delay anymore. If it doesn't leave, we can't do anything about it. Xianxia advised. Xiaobai stubbornly raised his neck and refused to let go, dragging the thundercloud beast out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The thundercloud beast had a panicked expression as it was dragged forward step by step. Its small eyes were even uglier than crying, but it did not dare to resist. This scene was extremely comical. Boom! A loud sound came from behind them. The ground trembled violently as if a huge earthquake had occurred. Judging from the sound, it came from the direction of the Buzhou mountain. Everyone was shocked and turned their heads to look. However, they were too far away and could not see clearly, but almost everyone guessed that the 100 Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restriction. It seemed that what the 100 Transformation Star Lord had said was true. If he had not been willing to be imprisoned here, the restriction would not have been able to stop him. Stop dawdling, let's go. Xianxia threw Tang Jing onto the heaven horse's body, patted the heaven horse's butt, and shouted, let's go, as he rushed out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. When the group of demonic beasts that had gathered outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb heard the earth-shaking sound, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts, crazily running out of the forbidden grounds. Everyone was stunned for a moment. This time they did not need to fight with the group of demonic beasts and saved a bit of time. And at this moment, Xiaobai finally pulled the thundercloud beast out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The thundercloud beast's originally ashen face immediately glowed as it looked at him in disbelief. I'm not dead. I'm finally out. I'm actually safe and sound. The thundercloud beast cheered. For so many years, he had been bound by that instinctive fear and did not dare to take even half a step out of the lightning pool. At this moment it had finally escaped, but it was confused. It did not know why things had turned out like this. Coincidentally, the ground was shaking more and more violently. It was truly an earthquake, and the prehistoric heavenly tomb was rapidly collapsing. The cold wind was miserable, and there were countless roars and roars. Suddenly countless rays of light shot up into the sky. The few of them couldn't help but stop in their tracks and turn their heads to look. Xianxia's expression suddenly changed as he shouted, the magic treasure has appeared, and it's not just one or two, but countless magic treasure have appeared. These magic treasures were of different grades, and were all magic treasures that were buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. In this earthquake-like commotion, these magic treasures were shaken out, soaring into the sky and shooting in all directions. Other than the magic treasure, there are other living beings. Xianxia's gaze turned cold as he stared at the other figures that had soared into the air. These figures were either big or small, and among them were demonic beasts and generals. These creatures that were originally bound in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had clearly broken free from their restraints and escaped without a trace. The 100 Transformation Star Lord broke through the restrictions on Mount Buzhou, which is equivalent to breaking through the restrictions on prehistoric heavenly tomb. That's why these creatures and magic treasures can see the light of day again. Xianxia said in realization. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, had an ugly expression on his face. Many of the creatures in the prehistoric heavenly tomb had powerful strength, and had escaped the calamity 300 years ago. These creatures had completely appeared in the world, and he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse to the outside world. Hurry up, let's leave this place before the 100 Transformations Star-Lord catches up. Xianxia shouted and immediately rushed out of the forbidden grounds. The others were unwilling to fall behind and increased their speed. In front of them were demonic beasts that were fleeing in all directions. These demonic beasts seemed to have been shocked, and rushed out of the forbidden grounds in a panic. They even rushed out of the black stone tablet at the entrance of the forbidden grounds, and disappeared into the vast forest. When the few of them arrived in front of the stone tablet, a furious roar came from behind them. Stop right there. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord had actually caught up. Xianxia immediately stopped in his tracks and shouted, "You guys hurry up and leave, I'll stop him. Li Xiaotian, you must save Tang Zheng or else I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Li Xiaotian's heart trembled. He turned his head to look at Xianxia, who had already turned around and rushed towards the 100 Transformation Star-Lord, then clenched his teeth and rushed into the forest with his fastest speed. Yuan protected the heaven horse, carried Tang Zheng, and then rushed into the forest with the other two little fellows. However, before they could go too far, they heard the sounds of intense fighting coming from behind them, shaking the heavens and earth. The few of them were trembling in fear, but they did not dare to stay any longer. They did not want to waste this rare opportunity to escape. It was unknown how far they had fled, but they could no longer hear the sounds of fighting in the distance. In the end, with a bang, Tang Zheng fell from the horse's back, and the few of them stopped in their tracks. Yuan immediately helped Tang Zheng up, but a sizzling sound came from his hands and white smoke rose up. It was obvious that Tang Zheng's skin was too hot, and his entire body was about to burn up. Li Xiaotian also stopped, and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. "Li Xiaotian, I beg you to quickly save our Lord Envoy." Yuan pleaded in panic. Li Xiaotian's face flushed red and said shyly, I can't save him. "I beg you, as long as you save Lord Envoy, Yuan will repay you even if I have to work like an ox or a horse." Yuan immediately knelt down in front of Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was shocked. He kept waving his hands and his head was shaking like a rattled drum, not letting go at all. "No. I really can't." Looking at Tang Zheng's tightly shut eyes and pained expression, her heart was in a mess. She never would have thought that she would fall into such a predicament. "Our Lord Envoy cannot die. I beg you, I will agree to any conditions you have. Go up the mountain of blades, go down the sea of fire, do not hesitate." Yuan pleaded, unwilling to give up. Li Xiaotian still clenched his teeth and shook his head without thinking. Q. Chapter 423. Tang Zheng's life was hanging by a thread, and Yuan was still weak, so it was impossible for him to force Li Xiaotian to do anything. The situation had reached a stalemate. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. There were two voices arguing in her mind whether or not she should save Tang Zheng. If she did, then she would be betraying the Li Palace. If she did not save him, then Xianxia would definitely not let Li Palace off in the future. She was in a dilemma. Suddenly, a few figures jumped out from the forest and rushed in front of them with lightning speed. Yuan was shocked and immediately protected Tang Zheng as he looked at the people who came. But when he saw who it was, Yuan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This person was actually from the martial sect. There were two people standing in front of him. One of them was the escaping martial, and the other was a middle-aged man. When Yuan faced this person, he couldn't help but feel a sense of insignificance. It was as if this person was a towering mountain, making it difficult for others to look at his back. Li Xiaotian also saw the other party, especially when he saw the middle-aged man. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Martial sect master." Yes, this middle-aged man was the martial sect master. He glanced at Li Xiaotian and nodded slightly. "I didn't expect the holy maiden of Li Palace to come here as well." Li Xiaotian's heart skipped a beat and said, "Li Xiaotian greets sect master." As he spoke, he cupped his hands and bowed. "Why didn't your Li Palace master come?" The martial sect master asked. "Asgard mistress is cultivating in seclusion." "Oh, I haven't seen her in a long time. I wonder how her cultivation has progressed?" The martial sect master asked curiously. "Asgard mistress cultivation is unfathomable. I am unable to speak nonsense," Li Xiaotian said. The martial sect master grinned and said, "When the matters here are settled, I will go and meet her." After saying that, his gaze turned and landed on Tang Zheng. His eyebrows furrowed as he asked in a deep voice, "Is it him?" Wu said respectfully, "Yes." Hearing that, the martial sect leader walked towards Tang Zheng. Yi Yuan was shocked. Of course he knew that he was not a match for the other party, but he still shouted without a care for himself, "Stop! What are you doing?" The martial sect leader's gaze turned cold, like a blade sweeping across, causing Yi Yuan to feel as if there was a blade on his back, but he still clenched his teeth, not giving in an inch. A mere cultivator dares to stop me. You're courting death." His tone was filled with a strong murderous intent, causing others to tremble in fear. "If you want to hurt our Lord Envoy, then step over my corpse first." Yi Yuan roared fearlessly. "Then I'll fulfill your wish." The sect leader of the martial sect was furious. He extended his arm and grabbed towards Yi Yuan. Immediately, Yi Yuan felt that he was completely enveloped by a terrifying power, and was unable to move at all. "Xiao Bai, protect Lord Envoy." In a moment of desperation, Yi Yuan shouted loudly. With a squeak, Xiao Bai jumped in front of Tang Zheng and opened its mouth. A ball of flame soared into the sky and rushed towards the martial organization sect leader. The martial sect leader flashed to the side in surprise and dodged the attack. He looked at Xiao Bai with a serious expression and clicked his tongue. "A demonic beast is truly interesting." Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai showed off his might and bared his teeth at the martial sect leader. Not long later, the thundercloud beast also joined Xiao Bai's camp. The two little fellows closely guarded in front of Tang Zheng, not allowing the other party to get close. "Sect leader, that Xiao Bai is not simple. Be careful." Martial reminded. It's just two demonic beasts, what's there to be afraid of? However, why is this brat unconscious? Could it be that he is seriously injured?" The martial sect leader asked doubtfully. Li Xiaotian explained, "The pure yang energy in his body has exploded, he won't live for long." "What, the pure yang energy exploded so early?" The martial sect leader raised his thick eyebrows in astonishment. "You also know about the pure yang energy?" Li Xiaotian opened his eyes wide in shock. Not only Li Xiaotian, even Wu looked at his own sect leader in disbelief. However, the martial sect leader did not explain the reason behind it. He said in a deep voice, "Since he doesn't have long to live, then I have to obtain him even more." As soon as he finished speaking, the martial sect leader rushed over. "Stop him." Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast launched a counterattack at the same time. Flames and lightning struck out at the same time, and with a boom, the place where the martial sect leader was standing turned into scorched earth. However, the martial sect leader seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Suddenly, Yi Yuan's heart trembled. He suddenly had an ominous premonition, and punched the air beside him. Bang! A palm met his fist, and Yi Yuan was like a kite with a broken string flying out. Tang Zheng fell limply into the hands of the martial sect leader. In that split second, the martial sect leader had actually deceived everyone's eyes and attention, passed through Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast's attacks and controlled Tang Zheng. Then, in a flash, the martial sect leader had already grabbed Tang Zheng and retreated a few meters away. Xiao Bai and the thundercloud beast wanted to attack again, but they stared at Tang Zheng in the other party's hands, and did not dare to attack. Yi Yuan's eyes were about to split open as he shouted, "Why did you capture our Lord Envoy?" The martial sect leader did not comment. He turned around and walked into the forest. Wu hurriedly followed. "Stop, you are not allowed to take Lord Envoy away." Yi Yuan climbed up without caring about his own safety, and then chased after him without hesitation. Xiao Bai, the thundercloud beast, the heavenly horse and the four symbols venerable ones also hurriedly chased after them. However, without the control of Tang Zheng, the four symbols venerable ones could only advance instinctively, and their threat was greatly reduced. Li Xiaotian watched all of this with her mouth agape, not knowing what to do. Suddenly her heart stirred and she muttered to herself, "Tang Zheng has fallen into the hands of the martial sect leader. I'm afraid that he will not be able to survive. If Xianxia did not die in the hands of the 100 Faces Star Lord, then I wonder if he will vent his anger on me. No matter what, this 10,000 huge mountains is a place of trouble. It's not good to stay here for long." With that thought, Li Xiaotian did not delay any longer. He looked deeply in the direction that Tang Zheng had disappeared in, turned around and rushed in another direction. Yi Yuan and the others were very fast, but the martial sect leader was even faster. In the end, they could only watch as the other party disappeared into the dense forest, powerless to do anything. Yi Yuan sat on the ground dispiritedly as if he had lost his parents. He fiercely hammered the ground and said, Yuan, why are you so useless? You can't even protect Lord Envoy? He regretted it for a long time and tears welled up in his eyes. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, I must go back and report this matter to the elders, and then we can discuss countermeasures. Tang Zheng was like a leaf, lightly held in the hands of the martial sect leader, who was moving forward in the dense forest as fast as lightning. After running for an unknown distance, the martial sect leader stopped in his tracks, and Wu also staggered to a stop. If not for the fact that the sect master had promoted her a few times at the critical moment, it would have been difficult for her to escape the pursuit. She took a deep breath and looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. To her, Tang Zheng was too strong, but the strange thing was that he had fallen into a coma just like that. What was going on with the so-called explosion of pure yang energy? She looked at the sect master blankly and asked, Sect leader, what should we do now? The martial sect leader stared at Tang Zheng without blinking, and only after a long while did he say, Save him. Wu opened his mouth wide in shock and said, Save him? Is he a cultivator, an enemy? From beginning to end, Wu was unable to guess Tang Zheng's identity. Although he had already guessed that he would have some relationship with the martial sect, he did not know the details. The martial sect did not pay attention to her surprise. Instead, he took out a jade pendant from his collar. On it was a large martial character. When Wu saw the jade pendant again, he couldn't help but fall into silence. After a long while, he seemed to have come to a realization and said, Sect leader, could it be that you want to save him and find out his relationship with the martial sect? The sect master fell into silence once again. Wu frowned and said, Then how can we save him? The eruption of pure yang energy, I have never heard of such a thing. The sect leader raised his head and his gaze fell on Wu. Looking at this gaze, Wu had a strange feeling and asked, Sect leader, what's wrong? Wu, the only person who can save him is you. The sect leader said. Meh. Wu pointed at the bridge of his nose at a loss. My strength is not even comparable to his, how can I save him? If you want to save him, the only person who can do it is you, sect leader, right? The sect leader shook his head and said firmly, If I say it's you, it's you. Wu, do you know what kind of body you have? Wu was even more confused as he shook his head in a daze. Your body is a body of evil. Back then, I spent a lot of effort to find you. Do you still remember when you were young, you were weak and sickly? The sect leader asked. Wu was confused, but he still nodded and said, Of course I remember, but I don't know why, but my body got better and better, and I didn't get sick again. That's because you cultivate the roaring flame saber. The roaring flame saber is a martial art that is extremely young and strong. It just so happens to offset the evil yin energy in your body, which is why your physique is getting better and better. The sect leader said. Wu's eyes widened. This was beyond her expectations. For a long time she was speechless. After a long while, she asked with mixed feelings, Sect leader, you said that you spent a lot of effort to find me. Why did you spend so much effort to find me? Wu had more and more questions in her heart. Her mind was a mess and she had almost lost the ability to think. Of course I have a use for you. Firstly, I can save your life, but the most important thing is to let you play your current role. The sect leader said in a deep voice. Wu suddenly realized, You mean to save him? The reason you found me back then was so that you could save Tang Zheng one day? The sect leader nodded without hesitation. Wu's heart was in turmoil as he stared blankly at the unconscious Tang Zheng. So his existence was all for him. Why was that? She had always thought that her existence was to exterminate cultivators, but in the end, her existence was to save a cultivator. It was simply sarcastic to her for the past 20 years. It was truly a joke. Wu, time is of the essence. We can't delay any longer. You have to save him immediately. Wu urged impatiently. Chapter 424. Facing the sect master's urging, Marshall seemed to be petrified, but he quickly reacted and asked in confusion, How do I save him? Since this was the sect master's order, Marshall would naturally choose to carry it out. The sect master said without hesitation, Hand him over. What? Hand him over? Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief. That's right, this is also beneficial to you. Even though the baleful yin energy in your body is temporarily under control because you have cultivated the roaring flame saber, but after a long time, this baleful yin energy will still devour your body. Furthermore, you and Tang Zheng have exchanged qi, yin and yang are in harmony, so with the pure yang energy in his body, he can completely neutralize your baleful yin energy. This way you won't have to worry about the consequences. Marshall bit her lips. Although she was usually filled with killing intent, she was still a woman deep down. How could she not be shy in the face of such a thing? She did not give up and asked, "Could it be that there's no other way?" The sect master sighed and said, "If there was any other way, I wouldn't have let you do this." Martial looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. The snow-white teeth that were biting her lips gradually loosened. She hesitated and said, "Then? All right." She had been living in the martial sect since she was young. The martial sect was her home, and the sect master was both her master and her father. Facing his orders, she could not bring herself to resist. This was because listening to the sect master's orders was a belief that was deeply engraved in her bones. "There's no time to lose. I'll go stand guard outside. Hurry up." After the sect master finished speaking, he turned around and disappeared. Martial looked at Tang Zheng, who was lying in the grass, and her face involuntarily turned red. Although she was in her 20s, she was still inexperienced. Normally she would come into contact with many men, but she had never thought of that. Now that she was suddenly faced with such a difficult problem, she was at a loss. However, she was not an idiot. Of course she knew what to do. She took a deep breath and suppressed the shyness and restlessness in her heart. She squatted down and stared at Tang Zheng. She couldn't help but mutter to herself, "He doesn't seem to be ugly. In fact, he's a little handsome. My first time was with him." She didn't dare to think about it anymore. She had never thought about what her first time would be like. Now that she was faced with this question, her heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Seeing that Tang Zheng's face was getting redder and redder, she knew that she couldn't delay any longer, so she reached out her hand. Her skin was very good, delicate and white. Although she was tall, her frame wasn't big and her fingers were long and slender. When she touched Tang Zheng's clothes, she couldn't help but shrink back, and her breathing quickened. She patted her chest and secretly encouraged him, "Wu, do your best, this is nothing. But I used to be enemies with him and now I want to have skin contact with him. Isn't this change too fast?" Another voice sounded out. Indeed, the relationship between the two of them had never been harmonious. Moreover, Wu had found out that Tang Zheng was the culprit behind her amnesia. Just as she was feeling conflicted, Tang Zheng couldn't help but moan. A surge of energy rippled out from his body. Crap, could it be that his pure yang energy is about to completely erupt? No, I can't delay any longer. I have to hurry. Wu's eyes turned cold and he no longer hesitated. Tang Zheng's life was of great importance. He was inextricably linked to the martial sect, so he definitely couldn't let him die like this. Thus, she quickly took off Tang Zheng's clothes, revealing a broad and hard chest. This was the first time Wu had seen a man's naked body. Her cheeks couldn't help but turn red, like a ripe apple, extremely alluring. When she stripped Tang Zheng naked, her gaze couldn't help but be attracted to the lower half of his body. However, she quickly averted her gaze in embarrassment. She took a deep breath and slowly undid her clothes. When an alluring body was completely revealed, the small forest seemed to have increased its scenery. Even the wind in the mountain forest became much warmer. After working hard for a long time, Wu finally clumsily merged the two of them into one. A surge of pure yang energy immediately rushed into her body. Boom! A burst of baleful yin energy exploded. Wu was very familiar with this energy. Before she started cultivating when she was young, this baleful yin energy had been tormenting her. Not long after, she would have an attack, causing her body to turn cold as if she had fallen into an ice cave. That was her childhood nightmare. At this moment, this familiar feeling attacked her again, causing her teeth to involuntarily tremble. The pain that penetrated deep into her bones stimulated her, causing her to instantly fall into a coma. The two bodies were tightly pressed together. Time unknowingly passed, and after an unknown period of time, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. When he saw the person lying on top of him and closely connected to him, he couldn't help but shiver. Damn, what's going on? He stared at Wu with his mouth agape. It was obvious that he had recognized her. But the key point was, how could it be her? He immediately realized that his pure yang energy had erupted earlier, so he had walked back from the gates of hell after reconciling with her yin and yang energy. The key point was, why would Wu save him? Didn't she hate him to the bone? Could it be that Tianxia caught her and forced her to do this? He shook his head and guessed. However, his attention was quickly attracted by another matter. His cultivation had actually broken through to the 5th level of Anidia, increasing by 3 levels in one go. How is this possible? Tang Zheng was baffled. He was very clear that the higher his cultivation, the harder it would be for him to increase it. But now, he had actually increased his cultivation by 3 levels. This was simply a miracle. His gaze involuntarily locked onto Wu's body. Without a doubt, this miracle was created by her. Just what kind of physique does she have? It's actually more helpful to me than the purine body and the profoundine body. Tang Jing was at a loss. Ever since Wu had cultivated the roaring flame blade, her fiend body's physique had been concealed, so it was difficult for ordinary people to discover it. Even though Tang Jing had interacted with her so many times, he still hadn't discovered her fiend body's physique. Suddenly, a groan sounded out. Wu Di opened her eyes and felt a wave of pain coming from her body. The feeling from her lower body was exceptionally clear, causing her to involuntarily frown. Seeing that she had woken up, Tang Jing quickly turned around. Their eyes met, staring at each other. Both of them stared blankly. Tang Jing was stunned. She was originally very beautiful, but at such a close distance and without a single strand of clothing on, she was even more beautiful and soul-stirring. If it was any other man, their heart would not be able to help but race. But the key point was that the other party was not an ordinary woman, but a woman who killed without batting an eyelid. With the two of them like this, wouldn't she tear him into pieces? Just as Tang Jing opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Martial's exclamation. Martial's eyes widened in disbelief as he muttered to himself, "How is this possible? How could my cultivation suddenly go from the first stage of the pre-celestial stage to the third stage of the pre-celestial stage?" With that, she turned her gaze towards Tang Jing, bit her lips and thought, could it be that this is his credit? Could it be that doing that with him has such a miraculous effect? Just as this thought appeared in her mind, her gaze shifted downwards and she immediately looked down. The two of them were closely connected and couldn't be any more intimate. She couldn't help but cry out in alarm and hurriedly got up. However, the pain there caused her to involuntarily stagger and fall to the ground. Tang Jing's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He shouted, "Be careful," and pounced over like lightning. He hugged her body and the two of them met each other with sincerity and tightly hugged each other. Tang Jing's pair of demonic claws pressed even more tightly onto her chest. Martial's body went weak, but he was also furious. Just now, she had only saved him because she was following the sect master's orders. Moreover, he was still unconscious at that time. Although she was shy, she was not as embarrassed as when the two of them were awake. "You, let go," Martial shouted in embarrassment and anger. Tang Jing retracted his hand as if he had been electrocuted and said embarrassedly, "Thank you for saving me." "It's not that I want to save you," Martial said coldly. "Anyway, thank you. Turn around, I want to put on my clothes. You're not allowed to peek." Martial grabbed the clothes on the ground and covered his body as he shouted. Tang Jing quickly turned around and asked without looking back, "What exactly is going on?" Martial quickly put on her clothes while clenching her teeth. She thought hatefully in her heart, "You still have the nerve to ask this question, humph?" Seeing that she did not answer, Tang Jing did not ask any more questions. He quickly picked up his clothes and put them on. Without a doubt, this matter was getting more and more complicated. He had to figure it out as soon as possible. Moreover, he remembered that he, Xianxia and the others had escaped from Mount Buzhou. He did not see anyone else, so he wondered how they were doing. Did they successfully escape from the tiger's den? He let his imagination run wild for a moment, but he did not have an answer. "All right, you can turn around now." Seeing that Tang Jing was also neatly dressed, Martial said. Their eyes met. Although her beautiful body was covered by her clothes, the soul-stirring scene from before was still imprinted in Tang Jing's mind. "You're still looking. Do you believe that I won't dig out your eyeballs?" Martial threatened with a murderous aura. Tang Jing quickly looked away and asked, "Where's my friend?" "They're all dead," Martial said snappily. "What did you say?" Tang Jing was shocked, he was dumbstruck and instantly released a biting cold killing intent. "You said they're all dead. Did the 100 Transformation Star Lord kill them?" "What 100 Transformation Star Lord?" Martial was just casually lying to him, but he did not expect him to have such a big reaction. He asked blankly, "Who is the 100 Transformation Star Lord? Hurry up and tell me where were they killed?" Tang Jing quickly approached and roared, "Young man, your temper is quite big." The martial sect master's voice floated into Tang Jing's ears. When Tang Jing turned his head, he discovered that there was another person beside him. From the beginning to the end, he did not sense anyone else nearby, but the other party had silently appeared like a ghost, causing his nerves to involuntarily tense up. Chapter 425. Tang Jing stared at the stranger in front of him and asked, "Who are you?" "Don't be rude." Wu De shouted, "This is our sect master." "Sect master?" Tang Jing was shocked. Isn't this person the leader of the martial sect? Wasn't he the one who issued the order to kill all the cultivators in the world? In an instant, Tang Zheng's hair stood on end as he stared at the other party warily. The sect master waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to make a fuss. He asked indifferently, "Are you afraid of me? Didn't you want to kill me? Why did you save me?" Tang Zheng asked in surprise. "Who gave you the jade pendant around your neck?" The sect master did not answer but went straight to the point. "Jade pendant?" Tang Zheng subconsciously touched the jade pendant and suddenly remembered the last time he saw the jade pendant. He said coldly, "No comment." The sect master was not angry. Instead, he took out a jade pendant with the word sect carved on it and said, "Your jade pendant and this jade pendant are a pair." Tang Zheng stared at the jade pendant that was almost identical, his heart trembling. "Grandfather once said that this jade pendant is related to my background. Could it be that my background is really related to the martial sect?" This was truly an inconceivable matter. The martial sect had spent so much effort to kill cultivators, and his own background was related to the martial sect. No matter how he listened to it, it sounded like a dream. Seeing Tang Zheng's expression change, Wu Yi stared at him without blinking, his heartbeat uncontrollably increasing. Without a doubt, this was definitely a huge secret, and she urgently wanted to know the ins and outs of this matter. "Are you an orphan?" the sect master asked. Tang Zheng snorted but did not comment. "It's useless if you don't answer. I've already investigated you. You're an orphan that Tang Dahai picked up back then. Do you want to know who your biological parents are?" The martial sect master asked. Tang Zheng's head thumped. This question had been bothering him since he was a child. He saw other children with their parents but he didn't. Because of this he was ridiculed. He really wanted to find his parents. However, as he gradually got used to it and realized how difficult it was for his grandfather to raise him, his desire to find his biological parents gradually faded. At this moment, when this question was brought up again, he hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "My family is only my grandfather, I don't want to know about them." The sect leader frowned and asked, "It seems that you hate them?" "It's not hate, I'm just a stranger to them," Tang Zheng said calmly. "Isn't it a good thing to be reunited with your family? Why aren't you willing?" the sect leader asked. Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "If you don't have any other questions, I'll leave first." He was worried about the safety of the others. Wu said that they were already dead, so he had to investigate thoroughly. "You can't leave yet," the sect leader said. Tang Zheng's expression turned cold as he adopted a defensive stance. The martial organization was enough to make the great clans so fearful, so this sect leader was definitely not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. However, he also knew that he was definitely not the opponent's opponent, but so what? He would not just sit there and wait for death. "If you want to kill me, then come," Tang Zheng coldly said. The sect leader retorted, "If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have let Marshall save you." Tang Zheng's heart thumped. That's right, if the martial organization wanted to get rid of him, he could have done it with a single blade. Why would he let Marshall sacrifice himself to save him? Moreover, this kind of sacrifice was precious to a woman, even more important than her life. Immediately, Tang Zheng could not help but be suspicious. What was the other party's goal, and why did he fall into the hands of the martial organization? Could it be that my friends were all killed by you? Otherwise, why would I fall into your hands? Tang Zheng asked with killing intent. "I didn't kill your friends. I came for you," the sect leader said resolutely. "I'm just a small character. How could I make you, the dignified martial organization sect leader, mobilize so many people? I've already said it before. I came for your background. You are a member of the martial organization, but you are enemies with the martial organization everywhere. This is a matter of pain for your loved ones and pleasure for your enemies," the sect leader said regretfully. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. Although he had already guessed a little, when he confirmed it from the other party's mouth, he could not help but feel his heart sway. "Aha, I am a cultivator, and the martial organization specializes in hunting cultivators. How could I be a member of the martial organization?" The sect leader sighed and said, "There are too many secrets that cannot be revealed to outsiders." When she heard the sect leader sigh, it was as if she could not believe her eyes and ears. Ever since she could remember, the sect leader had never sighed before. He was like an invincible war god, never having such negative emotions. Waves of shock surged in Wu's heart as he watched everything in disbelief. However, Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, "I don't care about any secrets. I'm not interested in these secrets either." "Don't tell me you don't want to recognize your biological parents?" The sect leader hesitated for a moment before asking. "If they still had a bit of responsibility as parents, they wouldn't have abandoned me." If it wasn't for my good luck, I'm afraid I would have disappeared from this world when I was still an infant. Tang Zheng's words carried a trace of anger. They have their own difficulties. It's just that you don't know about them. The sect leader said with a gloomy expression. Tang Zheng ignored him and said, "My only relative is my grandfather, no one else, and I don't want to recognize anyone else. If you want to keep me, then make your move." With that, Tang Zheng turned around and left. Halt. The sect leader let out a low snort. His figure flashed as he grabbed Tang Zheng's shoulder. It was a simple attack, but it made Tang Zheng feel as if he had been locked onto by an earth-shattering aura. No matter which direction he dodged in, he would not be able to escape this grab. "Break for me." Tang Zheng roared. The War Soul sword had already appeared in his hand, and he fiercely slashed at the hand above his head. The air seemed to be torn apart, but this pair of hands did not dodge. When the War Soul sword quickly slashed at the palm, the gesture changed, and two fingers actually clamped down on the tip of the sword, making it difficult for the War Soul sword to advance any further. "You are not my match. Give up," the sect leader advised. "Don't even think about it." Tang Zheng clenched his teeth, wanting to pull out the War Soul sword, but found that it did not move at all. Clang. Suddenly he felt that his hand was empty. The War Soul sword had actually left Tang Zheng's hand and landed in the sect leader's hand. Buzz. The War Soul sword broke away from its master's control and started to tremble non-stop, but it was unable to break free from the sect leader's grasp. The magic treasure is indeed different from the rest. The sect leader looked at the War Soul sword in his hand and sighed. "You already have a magic treasure, so you're no match for me," the sect leader said. Tang Zheng snorted, but he did not give up. He extended his hand, and the heaven-shocking bow appeared in his hand. He opened the bow and knocked the arrow. The sun-shooting arrow was ready to be released, containing a terrifying power. Martial had seen the power of the heaven-shocking bow before, and although he had never seen the sun-shooting arrow before, he could clearly feel the threat. He shouted in shock, "Sect leader, be careful, this bow and arrow is very powerful." The sect leader said expressionlessly, "Then I'll experience how powerful your bow and arrow is." The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, and in that instant the world seemed to change color. The sun-shooting arrow was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was already there, heading straight for the sect leader's chest. At this moment, the sect leader raised his eyebrows and said, "Good archery." Waving the War Soul sword in his hand, he drew a large circle in the air. The sun-shooting arrow immediately shot into the circle, and a surging power spread out. Bang! Bang! In all directions, all the trees that were shaken by this power were all cut in half and collapsed with a loud bang. Martial looked at all of this in disbelief. This was just the power of one arrow, wasn't this too terrifying? This was much more powerful than the empty arrows in the past. The sect leader's expression also became dignified. He drew two circles in succession, completely enveloping the shooting sun arrow. The shooting sun arrow suddenly stopped, and its offensive power was reduced. The sect leader's big hand reached out and grabbed the shooting sun arrow. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted. The sun-shooting arrow could help him raise his fighting strength by a few levels, but it was still unable to harm his opponent in the slightest. He did not stay any longer. Using the earth-shrinking technique, he quickly retreated into the dense forest. "You won't be able to escape." The sect leader's speed was even faster than Tang Zheng's. With a flash of his figure, he blocked Tang Zheng's path. Tang Zheng shot out another arrow without thinking. The sect leader did the same thing. The War Soul sword drew a few more circles, and entered a stalemate with the sun-shooting arrow. Tang Zheng took advantage of this short opportunity to quickly escape. "Halt!" Martial shouted and chased after her. However, her cultivation was still weaker than Tang Zheng's, and was still lacking by a bit. The sect leader neutralized the attack of the sun-shooting arrow again. With one hand holding the War Soul sword and the other holding the two sun-shooting arrows, he chased after them relentlessly. Tang Zheng did not need to turn his head to understand that the pursuers were getting closer and closer, but he did not run in the direction of the witch tribe. If the martial sect found out the exact whereabouts of the witch tribe, it would be a disaster for the witch tribe. Where? Suddenly he had an idea. Prehistoric heavenly tomb, right? Go there. He didn't know if the 100 Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restrictions, or if he had lured the sect leader to the 100 Transformation Star Lord, he would have a chance to escape. "Sect leader, let's hurry up or else we'll let him escape." Wu had already used all of her abilities, but she was still unable to catch up to Tang Zheng. However, she discovered that the sect leader was running side by side with her, and did not have any intention of increasing her speed to catch up to him. There's no need to be anxious, he won't be able to escape. Didn't you say that he still has a mysterious witch tribe under him? Maybe he wants to go to the witch tribe to seek reinforcements, and we just happen to follow him. Otherwise, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to find these people in such a huge 10,000 huge mountains. The sect leader said. Wu's eyes lit up as he said, Sect leader is wise. Sect leader, what should we do after we capture Tangjing? The sect leader smiled but did not say anything. Wu was full of suspicion, but he did not dare to ask again. Tangjing gritted his teeth in hatred. These two people were truly two tails, chasing closely after him, causing him to be exhausted. He did not know when he would reach the end. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the front, shaking the heavens and earth. Chapter 426. Hearing the loud sound, Tangjing subconsciously stopped in his tracks and looked up, only to see a mess in front of him. The huge forest had turned into ruins with broken walls. A complacent shout rang out, Xianxia, obediently accept your death. Boom. With a loud sound, a figure flew over from the distance and landed not far away from Tangjing in a sorry state. Tangjing's pupils constricted as he cried out involuntarily, Xianxia. Xianxia was dumbstruck and exclaimed, Brat, why are you back? Your pure yang force is already under control? Tangjing immediately stood in front of Xianxia to protect him and said, I'm fine, how are you? I won't die for the time being, but this 100 transformation star lord is really hard to deal with. Xianxia said solemnly. Where are the others? The others? Didn't they leave with you? Didn't you see them when you woke up? Xianxia was extremely surprised. They're not dead, right? Tangjing asked anxiously. Dead. Anyway, when we separated they were still safe and sound. Brat, stop dawdling and leave quickly. The two of us are not a match for the 100 transformation star lord. Xianxia urged impatiently. Tangjing heaved a sigh of relief. Since they were separated and the others were still safe and sound, then Wu's words might not be credible. Tangjing, you actually came as well. Ah, just in time, I'll send you on your way. The 100 transformation star lord rushed over and laughed sinisterly. Tangjing remained unmoved but shifted his gaze to the back. As expected, two figures chased after him like shadows. He was overjoyed. The 100 transformation star lord was too powerful. He was afraid that he could only temporarily rely on the power of the martial sect's sect master to contend against him. Two more people came. Who are they? The 100 transformation star lord stared at the newcomers and frowned. Yo, why is there a child? Seeing the appearance of the 100 transformation star lord, Marshall subconsciously blurted out. The 100 change star sovereign flew into a rage. I hate it when people call me a child. You are a child to begin with. Don't tell me you want to pretend to be an adult? Marshall said matter-of-factly. Women are indeed sharp-tongued. I'll break your teeth first. The 100 transformation star sovereign roared and disappeared. Suddenly, Marshall felt a sense of danger that he had never felt before. All the hair on his body stood on end, but before he could resist, the figure of the 100 transformation star lord appeared in front of her once again. She didn't see clearly how he had come to her side from so far away. She couldn't help but be stunned. Whoosh! He slapped her in the mouth. With this slap, her mouth full of teeth would definitely be broken, but she had no room to resist at all. Bang! A fist appeared right in front of her and blocked the slap. A strong airflow rose into the sky and spread in all directions. Marshall's cheeks were in pain from the wind. He immediately retreated and finally saw that the sect master had saved him at the critical moment. You have some ability. The 100 transformation star lord's eyes flashed as he warned the sect master who was right in front of him. Xianxia looked at the sect master in astonishment and exclaimed, Who is this person? His strength is not simple, to be able to block the attack of the 100 transformation star lord. He is the martial sect master. Tangjing introduced him in a low voice. In the blink of an eye, Xianxia opened his eyes wide and said with unconcealable anger, It's him? He was the one who ordered the hunting of cultivators? Yes. Why is he here? The people sent by the martial sect last time returned empty-handed. That's why he personally took action. They were the ones who saved me just now. They saved you? Xianxia was in disbelief. I thought it was that little girl from the Li Palace who saved you. So it was this girl. Back then in the ordinary balance she chased after you to kill you. This time you've taken revenge on her. Tangjing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't the martial sect hunting cultivators? Why would they save you? Xianxia asked suspiciously. Tangjing said in a low voice, My background seems to be related to the martial sect. How could this be? Didn't Tang Dahai pick you up from the garbage dump? Xianxia was even more surprised. It's a long story. Let's first solve the problem in front of us. Tang Jing sighed. The others did not pay attention to the whispers between the two of them. Instead they focused on each other. The martial sect's sect master had long since frowned as he looked at the 100 Transformation Star Lord with a complicated expression. He asked warily, "Who are you?" "Haha, I haven't asked who you are yet. You have quite the guts to actually dare to ask me." The 100 Transformation Star Lord said with a fake smile. His name is 100 Transformation Star Lord. He's a very powerful cultivator. Tang Jing shouted. With that said, the martial sect master's expression remained the same, but Wu Zong's face turned pale with fright. He exclaimed in his heart, "This person is a cultivator. Where did such a powerful cultivator come from?" Of course, the martial sect master also wanted to know the answer. He said with a burst of blood, "Are you a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains?" He was sure that there was no such powerful cultivator in the outside world. This person had most likely been hiding in the 10,000 huge mountains. Something had obviously changed in the 10,000 huge mountains, so it was not as dangerous as before. That was why his journey was unimpeded. If it was in the past, when he met such a cultivator, he would definitely not hesitate to use his killing move. But now, Tang Jing's appearance had disrupted his established steps, so he was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he wanted to figure out the ins and outs of the situation. "Of course I am a cultivator from the 10,000 huge mountains. Who are you?" "He is the martial sect master." "The martial sect specializes in hunting cultivators?" Tang Jing shouted. More accurately speaking, the 100 Transformation Star Lord belonged to cultivators. Although there was no distinction between cultivators and warriors in ancient times, it was obvious that the 100 Transformation Star Lord cultivated innate chi, so he was a cultivator. However, 100 Change Star King did not have any prejudice about the difference between genuine chi and internal strength. He did not care about the difference between practitioners and warriors. He just praised, "No wonder you can hunt practitioners. It turns out that you have such high strength. However, it is your bad luck to meet me, 100 Change Star King. I have come to this world again. If I don't use blood as a sacrifice, wouldn't it be too lonely?" Hearing that, Tang Jing was overjoyed and said in a low voice, "Xianxia, this 100 Transformation Star Lord is too abnormal. We should leave first and let the martial sect master entangle him." "How can that be?" Xianxia immediately rejected. "This martial sect master killed so many cultivators, I want to get rid of him first." "Don't be angry." Tang Jing quickly persuaded him. "Xianxia, isn't it a good thing to have such an enemy to attract firepower? Why do we have to stay? This 100 Transformation Star Lord is a big trouble, we have to stay away." Xianxia's heart moved. Just now he and the 100 Transformation Star Lord fought hundreds of rounds. He was the most clear about the opponent's strength. He judged that the opponent's strength was at least at the yuanying stage. As for the specific cultivation, he could not guess. In other words, Xianxia was definitely not the opponent of the 100 Transformation Star Lord. In this case, if he recklessly entangled with the opponent, he would be courting death. Xianxia was still shouldering the mission of letting the cultivators return. How could he be willing to lose his life like this? So he nodded calmly and said, "Okay, I promise you we will retreat first. Since the martial sect girls saved you, then I will let them go for the time being. If they can escape from the 100 Transformation Star Lord, then I will find them to settle accounts." Hearing this, Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing that the 100 Transformation Star Lord wanted to kill him, the martial sect leader's expression did not change. He gripped the War Soul Sword tightly and said without fear, "You are a cultivator, I want to kill you too." He let Tang Jing go, but that did not mean that he would be merciful to other cultivators, so he raised the sword in his hand. His movements were not fast. He lightly drew a few circles in front of his chest, and a vast power rushed out from these circles like a volcanic eruption. There was a clap of thunder on the ground. There was no warning before, just a few strokes of the War Soul Sword, and the aura was completely different. Seeing that, Xianxia raised his eyebrows and praised, "As expected of the martial sect leader, this sword technique is not simple, its power is peerless." As if to confirm his judgment, the 100 Transformation Star Lord roared and quickly retreated. The ground he was standing on had already started to crack as if it was an earthquake. The cracks spread to his feet as if they wanted to devour him. The 100 Transformation Star Lord soared into the air and steadily stopped in midair. He chuckled, "Interesting, truly interesting." After pausing for a moment, he roared, 10,000 clones. So, In the blink of an eye, many clones of the 100 Transformation Star Lord appeared in all directions, all of them looking at him with evil intentions and sneering. This was the first time Wu had seen this scene. She covered her mouth in shock, her face filled with disbelief. The martial sect leader's expression also changed slightly as he pounced forward. "Let's go." Tang Jing and Xianxia saw the opportunity and turned to run, while the two of them were completely entangled by the thousands of clones. "Martial, leave quickly. I'll hold him back." The martial sect leader obviously realized that this was a huge danger and immediately ordered Wu to leave. "Sect leader, I'm not leaving. I want to fight with you and kill all of these cultivators." Martial remained unmoved, a flame rose from his palm, and a roaring flame blade greeted the 100 Transformation Star Lord. "No, hurry up and leave. I have a way to deal with it and escape." The sect leader shouted, and then Martial found himself flying as light as a swallow, flying out of the encirclement. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord had too many complete clones, and a few of them intercepted her in midair. "Kill. I will kill all of you." Martial was not afraid at all. He roared and attacked at the same time. However, although these were clones, their strength was still not weak. Tang Jing and Xianxia had already escaped a distance away. Tang Jing subconsciously turned his head to look back, and when he saw the dangerous Martial, his heart moved, and he couldn't help but think of the scene when she saved him. "She saved my life, I can't just watch her die." If it was in the past, he would have turned a blind eye to it, but she had saved him after all. No matter what her goal was, Tang Jing could not forget this life-saving grace. Thus, he gritted his teeth, turned around and rushed towards Martial. Chapter 427. Seeing that, Xianxia turned pale with fright and shouted, "Brat, what are you going back for?" "I'm going to save her." Tang Jing did not even turn his head, and in the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Martial, and with a sound, a sun-shooting arrow directly pierced through 3 clones, resolving Martial's crisis. "Let's go." Tang Jing picked up the sun-shooting arrow, grabbed Martial's arm, used the earth-shrinking technique and quickly fled backwards, while a few clones chased after him. "So I've really been killed by you." Xianxia also turned around and took care of a few clones in a few moves. "I'm not leaving, I want to fight side by side with Sect Master." Martial shouted loudly. Tang Jing glanced at the martial sect master who was surrounded by thousands of clones and said, "Are you going to die with him?" "I don't want you to care." Martial gritted his teeth and stared angrily at Tang Jing. "If you want to die, it won't be that easy." Tang Jing used the body-securing technique, and Martial was immediately unable to move. He could not help but shout, "What did you do to me? Quickly let me go, I want to fight." "Fight my ass, let's go." Tang Jing directly carried her on his shoulder, her full chest pressing down on Tang Jing's shoulder, and then quickly drilled into the forest. Xianxia still had a lingering fear. He patted his chest and said, "Luckily, I thought you were crazy and wanted to help the martial sect master, so you've taken a fancy to this little girl." In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them disappeared into the dense forest, ignoring the intense sounds of battle coming from behind them. Martial kept cursing and scolding Tang Jing, but he was unable to move, to no avail. "Little girl, Tang Jing saved you and you're still scolding him. This is repaying kindness with enmity," Xianxia said. "Who wants him to save me?" "I don't want him to save me, I want to fight side by side with Sect Master." Martial did not appreciate it at all. You really don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Kid, where are we going next?" Xianxia changed the topic. Tang Jing was worried about the safety of the sorcerer tribe and said, "Let's go back to the sorcerer tribe." After returning to the tribe with the help of the 4 symbols venerables, their strength would increase by a large margin, and they would be able to better defend against the invading enemies. "What about this girl? Are you going to bring her there too?" Xianxia asked curiously. Tang Jing hesitated, but in an instant he understood that the witch clan had already been exposed to the world. Furthermore, he had seen the witch clan before, so even if he brought her back to the witch clan this time, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Because the most important thing was that if he did not bring her in, she would definitely return to find the martial sect leader without hesitation. That would be courting death. Tang Jing certainly couldn't let his hard work go to waste. He couldn't let her die like this. "Yes, bring her along." "I'm not going, I'm going to find the sect leader." Wu still roared. "How noisy. I'll let her be quiet for a while." Xianxia tapped on Wu Wu's head, and Wu Wu lost consciousness. After passing through the large illusion array outside the tribe, the tall city gate of the witch tribe finally appeared in front of his eyes. This was the first time Xianxia had come to the witch tribe. He couldn't help but open his eyes wide and exclaim, "The scale is not small." Tang Jing nodded but realized that the people on top of the city gate were already cheering, "Lord Envoy is back, Lord Envoy is back." Immediately the entire tribe was in an uproar. The tall stone door opened and a large group of people rushed out. The person in the lead was the Witch Clan elder and Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan took 2 steps and quickly rushed over. He excitedly stopped in front of Tang Jing and said in disbelief, "Lord Envoy, you're finally back. Are you all right?" When Tang Jing was snatched away by the martial sect, Yi Yuan was both angry and regretful. He felt extremely guilty, and when he saw that Tang Jing was safe and sound, he was about to cry tears of joy. "I'm fine. Are all of you safe and sound?" Tang Jing asked with concern. "Li Xiaotian is gone. Everyone else is fine," Yi Yuan said, but his gaze landed on Wu Wu. "Lord Envoy, why did you bring her here?" "It's a long story." As soon as he finished speaking, a white figure rushed over, followed closely by a black figure. Was Xiao Bai jumped onto Tang Jing's shoulder, hugged his head, and kept scratching his hair, intimately rubbing against his cheek. The corner of Tang Jing's mouth raised and said, "I'm fine, Xiao Bai." "Jiji." Xiao Bai pouted, feeling very resentful. The thundercloud beast stood in front of Tang Jing, raising its head to look at him curiously. "Lord Envoy, let's go back to the house first." The Witch Clan elder looked at Xianxia with a complicated expression and suggested. When the few of them returned to the tribe, the Witch Clan elder said impatiently, "Lord Envoy, this trip to the Forbidden Grounds actually provoked such a powerful 100 transformation Star Lord. What should we do now?" One of the main goals of Tang Jing's trip to the Forbidden Grounds was to clarify the mystery of the Witch Clan's entrapment. Now he found out that it was most likely done by Qiyu, which caused him to be confused. Hearing the elder's question, Tang Jing said in a deep voice, "This place is no longer safe, whether it is the Witch Clan or the government, they will not turn a blind eye to the Witch Clan, so I suggest that the Witch Clan walk out of the 10,000 huge mountains." The sorcerer tribe had long wanted to leave the 100,000 mountains. Hearing this decision, the sorcerer tribe elder became excited, but he also fell into deep worry. He said, "But the guardian god is so tall. If he leaves with us, will he cause trouble in the outside world?" Tang Jing rubbed the space between his eyebrows. This was indeed a big problem. The 4 symbols venerable was a great help, and now even the 100 transformation Star Lord might covet the 4 symbols venerable. If he left them here, it would be too easy for the other party. However, if he were to take them away, such a large stone statue would probably cause a lot of trouble in the outside world. Seeing that Tang Jing was at his wit's end, Xianxia said, "Brat, what's so difficult about this? Don't you have a sumer bag? Just put the 4 symbols venerable inside." Tang Jing's heart moved and he said happily, "Really? Of course you can. What level of magic treasure is your sumer belt now?" "Profound level magic treasure." Xianxia pinched his chin and said, "This is a bit difficult. The 4 symbols venerable is too big. Only by upgrading the Sumeru belt to an earth-level magic treasure can I store them. Then how can I upgrade the Sumeru bag's level? Of course it's refining, to further improve the quality of the Sumeru bag." Xianxia said. "You're talking about refining?" The Witch Clan elder knew a little about Xianxia's identity, so he did not dare to neglect this expert and asked curiously. Xianxia smiled mysteriously, "Yes, refining is the same as refining pills. Brat, your alchemy skills are already not bad, but you have never refined before. This time I can use your Sumer bag to practice. Right, the 9 revolving pill furnace is still in your hands, right?" "Of course." Tang Jing nodded his head. "Hee back then you really picked up a treasure at the auction. Don't look at how the 9 revolving pill furnace is no longer as glorious as it used to be. After all, its foundation is there. Not only can it refine pills, it can also refine weapons. This is a condition that many other pill furnaces do not have." Xianxia said in amazement. Alchemy and artifact refining were 2 completely different refining methods. Generally, alchemy furnaces could only be used for one purpose, either alchemy or artifact refining. However, there were a few alchemy furnaces that could be used for both purposes. The 9 revolving pill furnace was this kind of precious pill furnace. Although the 9 revolving pill furnace was damaged and was no longer a heaven-level magic treasure, this kind of innate attribute did not change. Tang Jing waved his hand and the 9 revolving pill furnace appeared in front of everyone. Xianxia's eyes lit up and praised, "It's actually a profound level magic treasure. Good brat, you actually leveled it up. Not bad." "That's only natural," Tang Jing said proudly. The reason the 9 revolving pill furnace had broken through was because it had absorbed the power of the sacrificial antiques. However, he had not been able to find that type of antique again, which made him feel quite regretful. However, to upgrade the Sumeru bag's grade, I still need several materials. Xianxia casually mentioned several materials. When the elder heard this, he immediately said, "Our tribe has all of these." Xianxia laughed, "Then it doesn't matter. In a few days your Sumeru bag's grade can be upgraded." Xianxia, can a destroyed magic treasure be refined again? Tang Jing asked curiously. Of course. Tang Jing was overjoyed. My dragon trapping rope has been destroyed, so can it be refined again? Yes. Xianxia had seen the dragon trapping rope before. It's just that the dragon trapping rope's material is quite special. It would be best if it had the tendons of a flood dragon. Python flood dragon? Hearing that, Tang Jing was overjoyed. Yuan also thought of something and shouted, "Didn't we just kill a python flood dragon last time? The flood dragon's tendons are still unused." The elder also nodded. "Yes, it's currently in the warehouse. I'll get someone to go get it." Just at this time they heard a commotion outside. A witch tribesman rushed in and shouted, "Lord Envoy, the girl you brought back has woken up. She was about to leave but was stopped by us. She is currently rushing outside." Tang Jing frowned and immediately rushed out, only to see that Wu had already rushed to the middle of the plaza, and more than 10 witch tribesmen were blocking her way. She was continuously charging forward, trying to rush over. Halt. Tang Jing made a prompt decision and blocked her path. Wu glared at him as if his eyes were spitting fire and roared, "Tang Jing, get out of the way. Since you're here, it's not up to you anymore. In a few days we'll leave this place. At that time we'll naturally let you leave." Tang Jing said bluntly, "I'm leaving now. I'm going to save the sect master." Tang Jing, your background is related to the martial sect. Don't you want to save the sect master? Wu asked with red eyes. "I have no connection with the martial sect." "Nonsense, the jade pendant you have on you is the most precious treasure of the martial sect, and you still dare to say that you have nothing to do with it? In addition, do you know that the sect master and mistress also had a child, but in the end, the baby disappeared without a trace? I suspect that you are the baby from back then, and that the sect master is your biological father." Wu Yen said his guess in a flustered and exasperated manner. With that said, everything fell silent. Chapter 428. Tang Jing's expression changed in an instant, and he said angrily, "You're talking nonsense." He had always had a natural rejection of the martial sect, but now that he was told that he was the son of the martial sect master, how could he not be angry? "I'm speaking the truth. If not, why would the sect leader want to save you? Sect leader said that back then he adopted me because I have a baleful physique that can balance your pure yang energy. If the sect leader isn't your father, why would he put in so much effort?" Wu Jingfeng retorted. Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. Although Marshall had saved him, this was the first time he had heard of this matter. "No wonder you're safe and sound. So this girl has a baleful body. I was saying that your body was about to explode. How could you be safe and sound in the blink of an eye?" Xianxia was suddenly enlightened, but towards Tang Jing's background, Xianxia was helpless and had mixed feelings. "You have nothing to say, right? If I were you, I would hurry up and save the sect master. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Wu advised. "I won't save him. Don't even think about it. Lock her up." Tang Jing once again used the body-securing technique, causing Marshall to be unable to move. Wu immediately shouted, "Tang Jing, you bastard, let me go, let me go." Tang Jing was annoyed and said, "Gag her mouth and take her down." Circled plus, Tang Jing's expression was unsettled. All of the witch clan members were silent. Only Xianxia sighed, patted Tang Jing's shoulder and said, "Follow me, I have something to say to you." The two of them went up the city wall and dismissed their attendants. Xianxia went straight to the point and asked, "Is what that girl said true?" "Of course it's fake," Tang Jing said without hesitation. "Don't answer me so quickly. Think about it first. Is it possible that it's true?" Xianxia asked. Tang Jing fell silent. His expression became solemn and even pained. "I originally wanted to kill the sect leader of the martial organization, but it seems that this plan can only be temporarily shelved. As long as he does not provoke me, I will not find trouble with him." Xianxia sighed and said. Tang Jing shook his head and said, "Even if he really is my biological father, he abandoned me back then. I have nothing to do with him anymore. Blood is thicker than water. It's not something that can be explained in 1 or 2 sentences. My opinion is that we investigate it thoroughly. As for whether he will die at the hands of the 100 Faces Star-Lord, you don't have to worry about that. A person like him will definitely have some means to save his life, Xianxia comforted. Tang Jing continued to remain silent. Let's refine artifacts first. Only by improving ourselves can we have a stronger ability to deal with future changes, Xianxia said. For the next 2 days he was immersed in refining artifacts. Refining artifacts and refining pills had something in common, and with Xianxia's guidance, the Sumeru bag was successfully upgraded to an Earth-level magic treasure. The space inside had actually been greatly expanded, turning into a true small world, which was more than enough to hold the 4 symbols venerables. The dragon-trapped rope had also been successfully refined, and was still an Earth-level magic treasure. Unfortunately, the War Soul Sword and the 2 shooting sun arrows had fallen into the hands of the martial organization's sect leader, and he did not know when he would be able to find them. Tang Jing could do nothing about it, but he knew that starving for 2 days was not a big deal. He only hoped that he could solve the problem of the 4 symbols venerables as soon as possible, and then he could migrate and leave the 10,000 huge mountains. On this day the sun was high in the sky, and the blue sky was filled with white clouds. All of the Witch clan members were gathered in the plaza, and even Marshall was standing in the plaza. Tang Jing did not continue to use the body-locking technique on her, because she knew that she would not be able to escape from this tribe that was like an iron wall, so she did not waste her energy. However, she looked at Tang Jing with eyes full of anger, while the others looked at Tang Jing with eyes full of anticipation. Tang Jing was trying to put the 4 symbols venerables into the Sumeru bag. He took out the Sumeru bag, and the Sumeru bag that was as thin as a cicada's wing floated in front of him. He activated his mental cultivation method, and a majestic force spread out in all directions, completely enveloping the 4 symbols venerables. The 4 symbols venerables immediately emitted a black light, but they did not move at all. What's going on? Tang Jing was secretly shocked. Don't give up. The 4 symbols venerables are divine objects, and their own strength will resist other forces. Aren't you connected to the 4 symbols venerables? Emissary, communicate with them and have them let go of their instinctive resistance, Xianxia suggested after pondering for a moment. Tang Jing and the 4 symbols venerables were indeed connected. With a thought, he indeed felt that instinctive resistance. Although the 4 symbols venerables did not have life, they had a weak subconscious. Tang Jing wanted to completely control this subconscious so that he could put them into the Sumeru bag. Whoosh. Suddenly, the light on one of the 4 symbols venerables disappeared, and then this 4 symbols venerables disappeared into thin air before everyone's eyes. Everyone was overjoyed, but held their breaths and continued to watch the remaining 4 symbols venerables. Tang Jing was incomparably excited, but he suppressed his emotions and continued to cast his arts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The remaining 4 symbols venerables disappeared at the same time. Deafening cheers immediately rang out. Tang Jing could not help but curve the corners of his mouth. At this moment, the 4 symbols venerables were quietly placed in his Sumeru bag. With a wave of his hand, he put away the Sumeru bag and kept it close to his body. Lord Emissary, congratulations. You've succeeded, the elder said excitedly. The obstacle to the Witch clan leaving the 10,000 huge mountains had been completely removed. Of course the elder was happy. Before Tang Jing could say anything, he heard a noisy rumbling sound coming from the sky. What was going on? Everyone raised their heads at the same time and saw a few large birds flying over from afar under the brilliant sunlight. It wasn't a big bird, it was a helicopter. Tang Jing was shocked. Wasn't the sky above the 10,000 huge mountains a restricted area for flying? How could there be planes flying over safely and more than one? In fact, Tang Jing instantly understood that the restrictions in the 10,000 huge mountains must have completely disappeared, which was why the planes could safely fly into this area. These planes were obviously from the military. Tang Jing's vision was very good, and he had already clearly seen the weapons mounted below the helicopters. There were missiles and cannons, and it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Everyone hide, Tang Jing shouted, but most of the Witch clan members were at a loss. Instead they shouted, Lord Emissary, it's a big bird. We'll shoot it down for you. Someone immediately drew his bow and arrow, wanting to shoot down the helicopter. Tang Jing did not know whether to laugh or cry. The Witch clan did not recognize this thing at all, so he quickly stopped them. Everyone listen to my orders, this is not a bird but a helicopter. It is very dangerous. Everyone leave the tribe and hide in the forest. These hundreds of people were hidden in the forest, and the forest was very dense, which could greatly reduce the threat of the helicopter. Listen to the orders of the envoy, hide. The elder repeated the order, and no one delayed any longer. The Witch clan was a soldier, and even the women and children were tenacious warriors. In the blink of an eye, most of the people disappeared into the dense forest, leaving only a small group of people to guard the center of the square. Xianxia frowned and said, "They have come with ill intentions. Strike first to gain the initiative and beat them down." Although the helicopter had the advantage of high altitude and long range, it was still not difficult for an expert like Xianxia. Tang Jing stopped him and said, "Let's wait and see." He did not want to be enemies with the military. "Listen up, the people below. Immediately put down your weapons and surrender. Otherwise we will immediately open fire." A stern order came from the helicopter. Put down your weapons. Dream on." The witch clan members were indignant. They were all natural warriors and their weapons were their lives. How could they surrender without a fight? Tang Jing's expression was serious and he asked loudly, "What exactly are you doing?" His voice was not loud, but it accurately reached the sky 100 meters above him, penetrating the rumbling sound of the propellers. "I want all of you to not resist, surrender, and then come back with us." An order came from the helicopter. "Impossible," Tang Jing said without hesitation. "We don't want to be enemies with you. You can leave on your own. Otherwise, if anything happens, I won't be responsible." In a helicopter, a person said hatefully, "I already said that he was stubborn and would not surrender. Why don't we just open fire? There's no need to talk so much nonsense." If Tang Jing saw this person, he would be very surprised because this was his old acquaintance, the leader of the archaeological team, Lu Ming. Without a doubt, Lu Ming had reported the matter of the witch clan to his superiors, which was why the military had been attracted and even used a helicopter. Of course, the country would not ignore the sudden appearance of a mysterious force. Lu Ming was participating in the operation as a consultant for the military, and his words carried a lot of weight. When an officer heard this, he replied, "We can't just open fire like this. The orders from the higher-ups are to bring these people back for investigation and research, not to completely eliminate them." Lu Ming had already seen Tang Jing in the square through his binoculars. He hated Tang Jing to the bone, so he said, "These people are not ordinary people. If we don't use force to intimidate them, how can we make them obediently listen to us? It's just a few people dying, it's not a big deal." The officer looked at him in surprise, thinking that this person was even more ruthless than the people in the army. However, Lu Ming had the title of consultant above his head, so his opinion could not be underestimated. "If they are really stubborn, then of course I will attack." The officer said, then continued to shout to the people below through the loudspeaker, "Since you are not enemies, then you should surrender without a fight, because this is the only way you will not be injured, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. I will count to 10 and immediately throw in, otherwise we will immediately open fire. 10, 9, 8. Hearing the countdown coming from above their heads, the faces of the people in the square turned ugly. The elder said angrily, "Sir Envoy, let's resist. There are only 5 big birds in total. Let's shoot them all down." "Yes, take them down." The other witch clan members agreed. Chapter 429. 4, 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, the atmosphere in the plaza reached its peak. It was as if the air had stopped flowing. The witches were filled with righteous indignation as they all asked to fight. Tang Jing really did not want to have too much friction with the military. If he shot down the other party's helicopter, then things would get out of control. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency and cunning as he urged, "Did you see that? I already said that these people are stubborn. If we don't let them suffer a little, they won't surrender. Fire." The officer had no choice but to order in a deep voice, "Fire!" Bang bang bang. The cannon spat out flames as the 23mm bullets whistled towards the plaza. The 5 helicopters opened fire at the same time with great power. The whistling bullets arrived in the blink of an eye. Tang Jing shouted loudly and dispersed. Everyone was like monkeys as they quickly retreated from the plaza. Boom boom boom. The bullets struck the plaza. The originally hard plaza was torn apart by such a huge force. The mysterious lines turned into ruins, stone fragments flew everywhere, and the smell of gunpowder floated in the air. The witch clan's eyes were bloodshot as if they were about to spit out fire. They roared, "Lord Envoy, they destroyed our plaza, they destroyed our home." Originally, the 4 symbols venerables stood in the plaza, so this plaza had a special meaning. But now, it had been turned into ruins by the guns and cannons. How could they not be angry? Tang Jing's face was also ashen. He did not expect the other party to open fire so recklessly. They really wanted to kill them. The witch clan respected him so much and believed in him. How could he just watch as the witch clan died under these guns and cannons? Thus, he muttered to himself for a moment before ordering, "Counterattack. Let them see my strength." Since there was no way to negotiate peacefully, then he would show off his muscles and strength. Only then would he be able to increase his bargaining chips. Wu had been silently observing Tang Zheng the entire time. Seeing that he had given the order, he teased, "Aren't you afraid of a backlash if you go against the military?" Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "They were the ones who started the war first, so they can't blame me. I remember that your martial sect has a good relationship with the military." Martial curled her lips and said, "The martial organization is related to the upper echelons of the government, and has no substantial relationship with the military." For the time being, Tang Zheng did not care about this matter. Instead, he ordered the shamans to take action. The shamans moved at lightning speed. They quickly climbed up the tall city wall and aimed the heavy crossbow at the helicopter hovering in the sky. These crossbows were extremely sturdy, and their arrows were as thick as an arm. Their lethality was astonishing, and ordinary people would find it difficult to control these big fellows. Only the witch clan's innate divine strength would have such strength. The shamans had been hunting since they were young, so they had a natural advantage in hunting. They quickly aimed at a helicopter and the elder immediately ordered, "Fire!" Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air with an ear-piercing sound, heading straight for one of the helicopters. The people on the helicopter had already seen the witch tribesmen shooting arrows at them, but they didn't think it was enough. After all, they were hovering hundreds of meters in the air, and ordinary arrows wouldn't have such a range. However, they had completely underestimated the strength of the witch clan. Only when the huge crossbow arrow was close to them did they come to a realization. They were so scared that their backs were drenched in cold sweat. They shouted, "Enemy attack, quickly dodge, dodge." However, it was already too late. The crossbow arrow fiercely and accurately shot into the helicopter. The huge inertia caused the helicopter to climb up for a distance before quickly falling down. "Mayday! Mayday!" Hurried shouts came from within the helicopter. Although the arrow did not take anyone's life, it directly destroyed the helicopter and prevented it from flying. The helicopter quickly fell into the dense forest. When the other teammates on the helicopter saw this, they turned pale with fright and immediately shouted, "Climb up, quickly climb up!" The remaining 4 helicopters quickly climbed up and pulled away. The military roared in anger, "Open fire, destroy the crossbows on the city wall." Boom, 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 boom. The bullets that filled the sky fiercely shot onto the city wall. The witch tribesmen had long since left the city wall and were not injured. However, the city wall was riddled with holes. "Sir Envoy, our crossbow arrows have been destroyed. What should we do now?" the elder asked. Before Tang Zheng could answer, Xianxia had already taken out his treasured sword and said, "Without the crossbow, I will still take them down." Tang Zheng also drew his bow and aimed the sun-shooting arrow at the helicopter. Attack! The two of them attacked at the same time. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, while Xianxia used the imperial sword technique. The treasured sword turned into a ray of sword light and slashed out. "Enemy attack, enemy attack!" Screams came from the helicopter again, but then came another wave of cries for help. The 2 helicopters directly fell into the forest. The members of the remaining 2 helicopters were stunned. This was an asymmetrical battle. The opponent's methods were too terrifying. "Missiles, fire the missiles." The officer made a prompt decision and roared at the top of his lungs. Whiz whiz. 2 missiles flew out from below the cabin, heading straight for the hiding spot of Tang Zheng and the others. "Run!" Tang Zheng shouted. Everyone immediately rushed out of the collapsed city wall. After a rumbling explosion, the entire witch tribe was engulfed in a sea of fire, and the plaza was completely overturned like a piece of land that had been plowed by an iron shovel. Lu Ming's face revealed a fierce and proud expression as he shouted, "Let's see how you guys escape. Fire, continue to fire." Whiz whiz. Another 2 missiles. This time, the witch tribe was completely turned into ruins, causing the witch tribesmen hiding in the forest to gnash their teeth. "Zhi." Suddenly Xiao Bai called out to the thunder cloud beast. The thunder cloud beast curled its lips and said with a reluctant look, "You want me to do it again?" With that, it flapped its little wings and soared into the air, flying straight towards the helicopter. "What is that?" The crew looked at the small figure that was getting closer and closer. "No matter what it is, fire and shoot it down," Lu Ming shouted. Ping ping ping. The cannons fired, but the thundercloud beast was too agile. It shuttled through the rain of bullets and was unharmed. It quickly flew to the top of the helicopter. Brr. The thundercloud beast roared and its body quickly grew. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its true form and became a huge monster. The crew felt that there was a black mass above their heads, completely blocking the sunlight. The helicopter flipped and finally saw the huge monster above their heads. Everyone's heart thumped and they were scared out of their wits. Although they were soldiers who had undergone strict training, but in the face of such a monster, they could not help but feel fear. Lu Ming was so scared that his eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Fire! Everyone quickly reacted and shouted. However, the thundercloud beast did not give them the chance. Its claws slapped the helicopter and the helicopter immediately fell into the forest. Then, the thundercloud beast directly grabbed the propeller of the last helicopter. With a fierce tug, the propeller that was spinning rapidly was directly torn from the fuselage. The helicopter lost its power and fell straight to the square. Lu Ming and the others in the cabin screamed at the top of their lungs. Lu Ming's intestines turned green. How can I be so unlucky? In order to see Tang Jing suffer, I couldn't wait to volunteer to be a consultant. Now I can't even keep my life. Seeing that the helicopter was about to fall in the square, some people were ready to jump out of the cabin directly. However, at such a fast speed, jumping out will only lead to death. One by one they were scared out of their wits. Their faces were pale to the extreme, and their screams almost broke through the solid cabin wall. At the critical moment, the thundercloud beast grabbed the top of the cabin, and the helicopter's falling momentum immediately reduced. It stopped steadily, but it was only a little distance from the ground. The screams of the crowd stopped abruptly. They looked at the scene in disbelief. They didn't die in time. From the hole in the cabin, they could clearly see the figure of the thundercloud beast. Everyone immediately understood that they were saved by this monster, and their hearts couldn't help but hang in the air. Bang! The cabin landed safely, and the thundercloud beast also flew down. The witch tribesmen immediately surrounded the cabin, and in an instant the cabin was completely surrounded. Before the people in the cabin could react, they saw that they were surrounded by densely packed, strong people. Each of them stared at them with an unfriendly expression, as if they wanted to eat them alive. Lu Ming was scared and quickly hid in the innermost area. He was very clear about the strength of the witch tribe. Without the threat of the helicopter, they were no match for the witch tribe. Get out! Tang Jing flew into a rage. Although the witch tribe was about to leave, their home, which they had lived in for so many years, was destroyed. Everyone was filled with anger. The officer led 5 soldiers to jump off the helicopter, but each of them held a gun and looked at each other warily. Do you still want to use your gun? 3F, take away their guns. Tang Jing shouted. A few of the witch tribesmen seemed to have springs under their feet as they immediately jumped into the group of soldiers. Before the other party even had the time to pull the trigger, they had already seized their guns. The soldiers' faces were ashen. They were also elite soldiers in the army, but in front of these unarmed people, they didn't have the slightest ability to resist. There's another person inside. Get him out. Tang Jing locked onto Lu Ming, who was hiding in the corner of the cabin, and shouted. As a result, Lu Ming was dragged out like a dead dog. The witch tribe people recognized him and guessed that he must have told them about the whereabouts of the witch tribe, which was why they were attacked. Therefore no one was polite to him. Seeing that he was not cooperating, they directly punched him in the stomach. He immediately vomited, bent his body, and curled up on the ground like a shrimp. He was in a sorry state. Lu Ming, we meet again. You're really good at attracting so many people. Tang Jing knew that the other party was deliberately targeting him. He must have added fuel to the fire this time. Lu Ming kept quiet out of fear and said while trembling, Tang Jing, this is not my fault, I was forced, I don't want to be your enemy. Tang Jing coldly snorted. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and directly turned to stare at the 6 soldiers. Chapter 430. A few of the soldiers were obviously much more unyielding than Lu Ming. Although their faces were still pale, they did not cower and beg for mercy. The leading officer said, What do you want? Tang Jing coldly snorted and said, I still want to ask you, what exactly do you want? We have been ordered to bring back all of you from the witch clan as well as you, Tang Jing. The officer said truthfully. Oh, what are you bringing us back for? Of course it's to be investigated. After so many years, the witch clan has reappeared in the world. It's impossible for the country to ignore them. Obviously, Lu Ming had already reported the matter of the witch clan being the descendants of Qiyu to his superiors. Although the cultivators had already been expelled, the country naturally knew that there were many cultivators in the long history of wuxia. They also knew how powerful the cultivators were, which was why they had mobilized so many people when they found out about the appearance of the witch clan. We won't accept any investigation. Don't be delusional. Yi Yuan impatiently refused and roared. Yuan, don't speak nonsense. Listen to the orders of the Lord Envoy. The witch clan elder immediately reprimanded. Yi Yuan secretly snorted and looked at Tang Zheng. The military also looked at Tang Zheng. Originally, when they heard Lu Ming's report that the witch clan were all under Tang Zheng's orders, many people were still suspicious and did not believe it. Now, it seemed that the news was not fake. This fort, Tang Zheng really had such a high prestige. The officer could not help but look at him curiously, guessing what kind of ability he had to be able to subdue such a mysterious tribe. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng only to see him think for a while, then say, "The witch clan will not accept the investigation. No matter who comes, it will be impossible for them to do this." Tang Zheng still did not know what the official attitude was towards the appearance of the witch clan, but he did not want the witch clan to become Xiao Bai's mice and be investigated and studied by others, and even more so, he could not let the witch clan lose their freedom. Therefore, his unyielding attitude had to be expressed first, letting others know that they were not dough that could be kneaded at will. The officer widened his eyes in surprise and said, "Do you want to go against the country?" "I am from Wuxia. Of course, I don't want to go against the country, but the people of the witch tribe trust me. I have the responsibility to protect their safety and not let them get hurt," Tang Zheng said. "But the witch clan is not an ordinary person. They are a powerful force. The authorities will definitely not allow such an uncontrollable force to exist in this world," the officer said resolutely. "Ah." Hearing this, Tang Zheng laughed mockingly. "Uncontrollable power, then the martial organization, the Li Palace and even the Azure Dragon Palace, could it be controlled?" Tang Zheng could believe that these three mysterious organizations were definitely uncontrollable, but the officials swore that the witch tribe was uncontrollable. That was because they thought that the witch tribe was easy to bully. Otherwise, why didn't the officials find trouble with these three organizations? The other party stared blankly. Obviously, with his level, he did not know about the three great organizations. "Your level is not high enough. Report to your superiors and tell them that it is impossible to control or threaten the witch tribe. If they want to negotiate, we can sit down and have a good talk," Tang Zheng said coldly. Tang Zheng had long expected the officials to take action, but he did not expect them to come so quickly. Since they were here, then he would settle the matter of the witch tribe once and for all. Of course, it was not appropriate to keep fighting and killing. Then he would display his strength and then sit at the negotiating table to negotiate and reach a condition that both sides could accept. "You're not going to kill us?" the military asked in surprise. "I'm not a murderous demon. I don't like to kill people," Tang Zheng said. The other party heaved a sigh of relief. Even Lu Ming, who was so nervous that he could not breathe, had a look of joy on his face. He quickly said, "Tang Zheng, don't worry, we will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. However, you can avoid death but you can't escape punishment. You repaid kindness with enmity and destroyed the homeland of the witch tribe. Lu Ming, obediently accept your punishment." Tang Zheng shouted loudly, reaching out his hand and grabbing Lu Ming. Lu Ming immediately cried out miserably, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I won't dare to do it again. If I believe you, even a pig can climb a tree. Last time, the witch tribe saved your life from the hands of the demon god, but you didn't know how to be grateful and repaid kindness with enmity. This time, I'll let you know the consequences of repaying kindness with enmity," Tang Zheng shouted loudly. Then with a kacha, Lu Ming's arms twisted like fried dough twists. A heart-wrenching scream pierced through the sky. The witch tribe said with great hatred, "Letting this kind of person go so easily is really letting him off easy. With my temper, I can't wait to break his neck." The soldiers looked at each other but no one dared to make a move. The screams came to an abrupt end. Lu Ming had already fainted from the pain. At this moment, more witch tribesmen walked out of the forest. "Lord Envoy, we have captured the prisoners." Dozens of soldiers were being pushed forward while staggering. They were in a sorry state and there were even signs of smoke and fire on their faces. Obviously, these soldiers were the ones who had just escaped from the plane. Because of the dense and tall forest, even if the plane crashed, these people were lucky enough to survive. When the officer saw that his subordinates had survived, he was extremely excited. He wanted to rush over but was stopped, but he still waved his hand and shouted, "God bless you, it's great that you're all fine. Everyone, don't worry, you will definitely return safely." Tang Zheng sneered, "As long as you don't play any tricks, I guarantee that you will be able to leave this place alive." The officer hesitated for a moment, then said, "I promise we will definitely cooperate. However, if we are trapped here for a long time, and the outside world does not know about this, they will definitely send reinforcements. I can let you go back alone to report my words, but if you dare to play any tricks, your companions won't be able to survive," Tang Zheng threatened. The officer hurriedly nodded, Don't worry, I will definitely not play any tricks and report the truth. Take them all down and watch over them. Also take him out. Tang Jing gave the order, and immediately, the witch tribesmen separated the two sides and took them away. Lord Envoy, what should we do next? The witch tribe elder asked worriedly. Before the other party can react, our large army will first leave this place and hide. Tang Jing said. Xianxia curled his lips and said, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Whoever dares to harm the witch tribe, just kill them. Obviously, Xianxia believed in strength more than anything else. As for the officials, he did not even put them in his eyes. However, Tang Jing was a modern person, so it was impossible for him to have such a concept. He still adopted a safe strategy and explained, wouldn't it be more perfect if we could solve the problem without fighting and killing? In any case, the witch tribe will listen to your orders. Whatever you say will be done. Xianxia shrugged his shoulders indifferently. I'll have to trouble you with this matter. I'll go meet with the officials. You take these people and hide. Tang Jing already had an idea. I'd where? Tang Jing glanced at Wu, leaned close to Xianxia's ear and whispered, go abroad, not far from here is the border, there are small countries over there, it's easier to gain a foothold, even if the officials want to do something, it's too far away. Xianxia looked at him with interest and chuckled, you're not stupid, this plan is not bad as long as we occupy a place, we can attack and retreat, and the officials might not be able to do anything to us. There were many small countries in the southwest border. Although their territories were not large, they were still legitimate regimes. The people of the witch tribe could ignore international regulations and enter these countries to establish their own positions. If the wuxia officials wanted to carry out cross-border operations, it would not be that easy. With such a mysterious external force as support, Tang Jing would have more bargaining chips in the negotiations. There's no time to lose. Pack up and leave immediately. Tang Jing decided to say. The witch tribe did not have any objections. They absolutely believed in Tang Jing, so they quickly packed up. However, most of their belongings were destroyed in the flames of war, so there was not much to pack up. Many people gathered in the ruins of the plaza and stared blankly at the ruins beneath their feet. This plaza was extremely important to the shaman tribe, but now it was destroyed. Now it was time to leave, and many people could not help but cry. Lord Envoy, come and take a look. What is this? Suddenly, a cry of alarm came from the crowd, and many of the witch tribe people surrounded him. What? Tang Jing and the others walked over, only to see that a small piece of the ruins in front of them had been cleared out, revealing a white object. How could there be something white under the plaza? A question mark surfaced in Tang Jing's mind. Clean up all the ruins. The witch tribe elder ordered. Thus, the witch tribe people quickly took action. Not long later, all the ruins in the plaza were completely cleaned up, revealing a layer of white below. The witch tribesmen all widened their eyes in confusion. What was this? The witch tribe elder was also confused. He had lived for so many years, but he had never heard of these things being buried under the plaza. These things were like jasper, pure white and flawless. Furthermore, there were traces of power rippling out from them. It was obvious that they were not ordinary things. If not for the fact that the plaza had been indiscriminately bombed, these things would have been covered in dust. Xianxia also looked at these white things curiously. He squatted down and gently rubbed them. With a bit of strength in his hand, a piece of it flew up and floated in the air without any support. Ah! The crowd cried out in alarm. This is too magical. These things were in the shape of long strips. One of them was 2 meters wide and had a silver-white luster, as if it had divine power. Wu stared at this scene with his mouth agape. Once again he witnessed the miraculous nature of the cultivation world. Xianxia squinted his eyes, but after a while he shook his head and said in disappointment, I have never seen this kind of thing before, this material seems to be very special. Tang Jing, what do you think? Tang Jing stared blankly at the stone. A piece of information suddenly appeared in his heart, a piece of information regarding this mysterious thing.